I've got the great pleasure of talking to Wahido Marata. He is very involved in doTerra oils, and he has a fascinating life living in a spiritual community. So, hello, Wahido.
Hi, Sue. Thanks for having me.
It's my pleasure. Now, it's over to you, really. I know quite a bit about what you do because I know Tony and things like that. But I'd be interested. I've never lived in a spiritual community, so I'd be very interested to hear all about that. So, Wahido, the first question is, who are you? Who is Wahido Marata?
Thank you for the question, Sue. I'm still trying to find who Wahido is. I was asked that question many years ago when I was in India, actually. And yeah, it's a self-discovery, journey. But in a practical sense, I was born in Portugal to a German mother and a Portuguese father, and I did what usual people do, which is go to school, have my degree, try to fit in as much as I could in society until I couldn't really, and I found that there was a really different, lifestyle that I wanted to have, and because also in my teenage years I started doing meditation. I started reading Osho's books, which he was an Indian mystic, which completely changed the lives of many, including myself. And life took me to several places, to several experiences. And in 2001, I met the spiritual teacher that I worked with at the moment, called Tony Samara. And since then, I've been working. You mentioned spiritual community. It's a bit different. It's actually a spiritual school, which makes a big difference for people who actually have this practice. And so again, I'm still discovering myself. I think I still have a lot to discover. I think I'm just checking the tip of the iceberg. But I think I'm going deeper, and I feel that with guides such as Tony Samara, it's very helpful, and the journey is a bit easier, a bit challenging sometimes, but I believe faster.
Okay, that's interesting. Yes, yeah, the spiritual school. Yes, that's so it's constant. It's constant learning. I know it's based a lot around meditation, isn't it?
Exactly. I mean, the whole philosophies, if I can put it that way, it's meditation, and it's taking meditation as a tool for self-development. And I stress the importance of saying or using the word spiritual school, because I actually had the experience of a spiritual community, and it's a bit different because a community, it's a community, people gather together, they live together, they perhaps do things together. But a spiritual school, there is a different kind of focus and a different kind of structure. The structure is a bit different, and we have our own schedule, we have our own practices, we have our own diet, and so everything is about meditation, in the sense that not only in the practice in specific times of the day of meditation, in a practical sense, people sit and people close their eyes and people chant mantras and etc. But the meditation is also brought into the daily life, which means that there is an approach of putting meditation into practice on a moment-to-moment basis, and it's not so easy to understand if you live in London, or if you are in the middle of Paris, just because it's difficult to focus on this on an ongoing basis when your boss is shouting on you, or when you are having your children doing this and that. Although children are great ways of putting meditation into practice, so are bosses, but it's our lifestyle. It's
Yeah.
more of a lifestyle.
I know there's quite a few I see on Facebook and different things, there's quite a few kind of global meditations that are going on at the moment to heal the planet and to stop the war and all the atrocities that are going on. Really, do you get involved in those as well?
Uh-huh. We get as much in those as possible, because I really believe that meditation, and I've been saying this for a long time, meditation for me, it's the next yoga, which means that there will be a time that not only those groups that invite people to meditate together, there, meditation will be much more spread, and is going to reach many, many places which are not reached at the moment. And so we do as much as we can. And since we do this on a regular basis, basically every day, more than once a day, it becomes a beacon of light. It becomes a beacon of consciousness. And the practice is clear. What we focus on is what we bring out to the world. And I believe that as many people as they can practice meditation, the better, in the sense that when we all focus on the same ideas or energies or outcomes, then those outcomes at least become possible. So yes, we do. And we also welcome people to join our meditations, which happen on a regular basis.
Yeah, that's I see more children also being involved in meditation, and that is making a big difference. I think a few, don't know if it's schools or there's some places where I'm trying to remember, but I've seen kind of groups of children as part of their learning being involved in meditation, and it's making big differences to how their childhood's working out. They're much more mindful.
Exactly. I mean, it's unbelievable how quickly things are changing, how the school system is also changing, not only in terms of meditation practices, but also their diets. I've seen many people putting through different type of diets in schools. And it's not only in schools. I've heard that the Chicago Bulls and the LA Lakers, for instance, the basketball teams, have been practicing meditation. I was just a few days ago sharing that video on Facebook and Twitter. And so it's becoming obvious that people are actually seeing the benefits of meditation on their large scale, and
Yeah,
they are putting it into practice. And I'm sure schools, teams, sports teams, companies, and it's clear already that Apple and Google, they know that it becomes when it becomes part of their daily life and the daily life of their workers, that things work better. Things are
yeah,
smoother, things are more
yeah.
calm, focused.
Yeah, because I know I live in London, and I mean there are groups and things that people do meditation and stuff, and I'm fortunate being able to work from home. I do have time to myself, because I think it's so important. But so many people don't have that much time to themselves, and they're running around all the time, either kind of working or you know and I was talking to somebody the other day, and they said, "Oh, I don't have time for meditation." And I said, "Well, or kind of my own time, but just taking maybe a quarter of an hour at the beginning of the day could just help them for the rest of the day, just to kind of wind up rather than going straight full pelt into the day."
Exactly. I mean,
Mm.
neuroscientists are putting that forth now, that it's becoming clear that we have these brain paths in the brain, and so the more we train them, the easier it gets. And so perhaps people, or my invitation to people is always to start slow and start short, say 5 minutes. And as soon as you get comfortable with 5 minutes, it's easier to extend that time. And so yes, people are busy, I'm busy, everybody seems to be very busy. Even children nowadays, they go from one thing to the other, always on the go. But in essence, our life is our choice. So if people really choose to change or to look at things in a different way and use meditation, then they have to make an effort, and it's a positive effort. And so, start slowly, start shorter, and
Yeah.
then who knows, that becomes bigger and bigger, and one day you're meditating for 1 hour and you feel like it was 5 minutes, but it wasn't.
I know,
It
I've been there. I suddenly realised where's the time gone.
exactly.
Oh, and so that's very much food for thought for people who don't do meditation and who will see this video. Um, Tell me a bit about doTerra oils, because I know that you're very involved in
Yes.
promoting those.
Well, again, like anything in life, when you find yourself in a position that you see something that works for you, and it's so amazing, or amazingly ancient tradition, then you want to share it with others. And so, when I found out about essential oils many years ago, um, slowly I started understanding that the power of plants and the power of healing through nature was something that I wanted to bring more into my life. And so, I found a few months ago a company called doTerra, which produces supposedly the best oils in the world, and I wanted to test it. I wanted to put it into practice, and so I bought some and I took them to some experts, and found out that their purity was really high, and their company is very ethical. And they also have sort of a way of doing business which was not only attractive but simple and easy. And so I decided to give it a go, and I find it really amazing how you can use, you know, oils like oregano, which is very good for the immune system. Um, Oils like peppermint, which you feel somehow revitalized, and it's creates a clear mind. Um, they have a lot of oil blends, which are a combination of several oils, which together make a really amazing synergy, which helps in many ways tremendously the body and the soul and the emotions. And so that was what I found, a potential to heal, not such or not put it in a way of medical healing, but healing in many senses.
I recently watched the documentary series "The Truth About Cancer,"
Mhm.
and that was fascinating with all the different alternative methods that were very effective, other than the conventional what people are used to.
Mhm.
And frankincense oil was mentioned as people. There was a few people who had brain tumors, and they used frankincense oil and put it on the roof of their mouth, and it actually reduced their tumors. I mean, obviously, people need to research that, and I know that you've got with the oils, they're very powerful. They've got to have a base oil,
Yes.
they've got to be mixed, haven't they, before they can be used because they're so powerful.
I
But
mean,
it was mentioned a few times that frankincense oil was very powerful in
Mhm.
helping cancer and things like that.
I mean, there's many types of oils, and each oil works in different ways. Many of them can be used topically neat, which means that you can use them directly on the skin. But most
Okay.
of them you need to mix with a base oil like coconut oil or even olive oil. I know that doTerra doesn't make any claims that oils or their oils create a healing of cancer or any sorts of diseases. But it's known that frankincense, for instance, especially on a preventive way, works very well with many, many diseases because it works with the cells of the body. It goes directly to the cells of the body. This is an amazing thing that I found about essential oils, is that they can go through the membrane of the brain, which they call it the brain barrier, and go directly to the cells of the body. And so frankincense, you don't have to do much research. You just go on Google and you find out the properties of frankincense, and that's the beauty of essential oils. It's the power of how they work. It's a bit of a mystery for many, because, for instance, frankincense is an oil that can be taken internally, which not many companies actually create that possibility, because you really need to distill them from or in many ways which are natural. You cannot use solvents or any other chemical ways to get the oils. And so by taking them internally, it creates a different effect on the body. And frankincense is one of those that works in a preventive way, but it works also very well, sorry, with depression or depressive modes or moods. And so, I mean, people just have to research a little bit and find out for themselves, because it's also important to be or how do you say, to question oneself the properties of a company,
Yeah,
sorry, of an oil, and the ethics of the company.
yeah. I find it seems, I think for people who aren't really or kind of coming new to things like that, they'll think just a little drop of oil and my body is so big, so how can that help? It you know, I know they have like rescue remedies and things which I know are slightly different, like Bach flower and things, but think of a few drops would actually affect the size of a human body. Um, it just it just seems unbelievable in some ways. So you can imagine, you can understand the skepticism.
Exactly. But I mean, perhaps if people would understand and try for themselves, they would completely drop the skepticism, because uh, sometimes it's actually the opposite. You know, one drop is too much, just because the concentration of the oils is so big, so they are so strong on the body that, for instance, a drop of oregano taken internally without any mix or mixture with another oil or milk or something that can absorb, allow the body to absorb the oil, can actually burn. I actually spoke to a friend of mine who, you know, didn't know how to use oregano, for instance, and he got a burn just because he put one drop of oil in his mouth. For 2 weeks, the wound was in his lips. He couldn't cure it just like that. And so one should really know what one is doing, and you know, consult a proper person who knows, an aromatherapist or a wellness advocate, someone that knows what they are doing, without trying it first. It's quite important. And you know, I don't remember the ratio, but um, I don't know. I think it was like I might be totally wrong, but it was like 5 kilos or 50 kilos of lavender leaves in order to make a small bottle of oil. Um, so you know, just for people to understand that the concentration is so big that oils are extremely strong because of that.
That's interesting. I didn't. I mean, I knew that they were very concentrated, but to that extent, that's amazing, isn't it?
Exactly. It's amazing.
Okay, well, it's very interesting about the oils, and Wahido actually has a listing on Soulfully Connecting. So if you're interested in those oils, you can find him on the website, which is www.soulfully-connecting.com, and it's under doTerra oils. Okay, Wahido, what are the challenges that you experience in your life, in your spiritual school?
That's a wonderful question. Um, I feel that the challenges have changed a lot, and at the moment, I think the biggest challenge is, which might sound a cliche, but it's the mind and the ego. It's those forces that one has inside, which many times take you out of your focus. So if I'm trying to focus on creating a document on my computer, or trying to focus on the children, or trying to cook, without having these forces inside pulling me here and there to the past and to the future, I can say that's my biggest challenge at the moment. You know, meditation is a wonderful practice in that sense, because it allows you to look at those things really in the eye. You know, I'm going to the past now, and I'm going to the future, and I'm not present. And meditation allows you to see that, and that's why it's one of the most amazing tools that one can get, because one can really see what one is doing inside, and how the mind is so tricky. How the mind takes you from one place to the other, to one judgment to the other, to one misjudgment to the other, and it really requires a lot of discernment in order to come back to a space where you're not taken from your focus, and you are able to focus on what's more important for you. We all know what's more important for us. That's the biggest mystery, and the biggest contradiction in or what that I see in my life, which is, in fact, we really know what we want to do, but somehow the mind and the ego takes us from that path. And the constant reminder of coming back, this is why teachers like Tony Samara are always on their discourses or satsangs or meditations saying, come back to this present moment, come back to a space where the mind is not pulling you anywhere. Come back, come back. So
Yeah.
the coming back home, that's the meaning. It's to come back to a space which doesn't have, it can have thoughts, but at least it has a permanent focus on detachment. So that you're not focused on anything. Things can be happening. Your mind can be throwing many exciting things, or problems, distractions, addictions, but you're not focused. You're not pulled by those emotions and by those feelings that you have to race behind that thought or that idea. Otherwise, it's gone. You just watch
Yeah.
them like it's a movie, totally detached.
Yeah, it's interesting because I know that living in the present moment, and I do it as much as I can, um, is it gives you a freedom, because it's like the past isn't your responsibility, the future isn't your responsibility, it's just a present moment. And there is a real freedom. It feels like you've taken off shackles in a way. I remember I was on a forum once, and I talked and I mentioned about living in the present moment. And I thought, because I mean, there's books and so much talking now about living in the present moment, but so I assumed that people got the concept. But I remember somebody coming back and saying, well, that that means you're not committed to anything, that you live in the present moment, which means that you don't care about what happens afterwards. It was like this, and it was completely. I was quite surprised that there was that kind of. It's like irresponsible. That was right. It was irresponsible to live in the present moment. But what I explained, and I'd like your confirmation on this, is that living in the present moment means that you're totally present. You're present to a conversation. So, for instance, if you're having a conversation with somebody, you're really listening to what they're saying, rather than kind of thinking about what you're going to say next, or thinking about what you've got to do after you've talked to them, because so many people mishear. Or for instance, there could be a couple talking about going on holiday, and one would be saying, oh, I really want to go to the beach, and the other one was saying, well, I really want to go and explore. But if they're not listening to each other, one will book the holiday that they think they've agreed, and the other one will be really unhappy because they haven't been heard. So that will create problems in the future. Whereas if they'd really listened in the present moment, they both agree on what they both wanted. Is that how you see it?
Well, I see it as being in the now, being present, and I think there is a multitude of dimensions that come with it. It's not just the mind; it's also the emotions, it's also the feelings, it's also the energetic exchange that happens between you and the surroundings. I usually give the analogy of nature. Nature is always present. You cannot take nature from its own presence to itself.
Yeah.
So you walk on the beach, you feel the sand on your feet, you hear the waves crashing, there is a whole multitude of sounds and feelings and smells, um, that's being present. You know, how is nature present? Just by being itself. It's not thinking, it's not projecting, it's not judging, it's doing nothing, but at the same time doing a lot, doing everything. And
Yeah.
so when I see two people speaking to each other, um, I would say that they are being present or being in the present moment by being really discerning what's going on between themselves, between what's happening inside of themselves, and how that communication is happening. So you can say that people are not hearing each other. So that's one dimension that I would say that happens. You know, people are hearing physically in a sensorial way each other, but at the same time they need to be hearing what's happening to themselves. What judgments are they having? What kind of ideas is that bringing? What kind of memories is that interaction bringing up? Um, so being in the present moment for me is totally not selfish, is totally not irresponsible, but is actually quite responsible. But when you are aware of all the multitude of dimensions that are happening in that moment, with you inside of yourself, with the other person inside of the other person, in your surrounding, you know, like I would say, um, you are speaking to someone and suddenly a tiger approaches. You know, being in the present moment means that, okay, you are speaking to the other person, but at the same time you see that there is something else happening that is also having to take your attention. So I would say that if someone is totally in the mind and totally in the past or in the present, sorry, in the past or in the future, trying to solve whatever they think that it's important at that moment, and they are not present to the tiger, then you know, they might have a problem.
Might
But
be eaten.
sorry.
They might be eaten.
Exactly. So, you know, I think there is many multitudes of dimensions happening in the present moment, and being aware of all of them is perhaps, you know, the ultimate that you can have by being in the present moment, and that's how I see it,
Mm.
really.
It's it opens up a whole new world, doesn't it? Really, it just, yeah, it's like an expansion. It's and the things that you can see and hear. It's like when you're walking down the street and you suddenly see this building you've never seen before, and it's always been there, but you've just never seen it. And I think it is probably a bit like that. You're suddenly seeing things that have always been there, but you haven't been aware of. So,
Yes.
so what are the challenges that you find? Not the challenges. Sorry, we've done challenges by my
Yes.
mistake. I'm so interested in what you're saying. I'm forgetting my questions. Um, what are the particular joys that you have with the life that you live?
Sorry, you said the joys?
The joys, yes.
The joys. The joys for me, you know, the biggest joy, and I'm not joking, the biggest joy is really to be able to be discerning. I find that, you know, things that come in life are wonderful, you know, like joys of being with my children, for instance, joys of being present to Tony's teachings on a daily basis and working with him personally, the joys of being in the spiritual school that supports and brings challenges, you know, personal challenges and other challenges. But I would say that, to be honest, the biggest joy is when I really am able to be discerning and be able to trust myself to the point that I have the feeling that I know what's happening and I understand the situation, not only from a mental perspective, but from an emotional perspective and from an energetic perspective. And somehow I feel there is an agreement in my surrounding, and not only my energetic surrounding, but my physical surrounding that supports that understanding. So I'm very happy to be successful financially. I'm very happy to be successful in my relationships. But I'm really, really very joyous and very happy when I'm successful with my inner reality and my inner communication. And that's, for me, comes with discernment. Somehow, a few years ago, that word became very prominent in my life, and I heard Tony Samara, for instance, referring to it several times. And so, again, there's a multitude of situations and aspects that provide a good discernment of a situation, and that's basically the work that we do here. Is looking at all the different aspects of a situation, whatever it is, and finding the discerning way of approaching it. Without, and what does this mean, actually, if I may? It means actually that you are not focused on any belief systems or any ideas that you had from experiences from the past, or ideas that you might have of the future. You're not based on a dogma. You are just based on what's really going on. What's the communication that is happening inside of you with the others, what the situation is bringing to you, to your life, to the life of others, and in a way, being able to really understand it from a neutral perspective, rather than in trying to impose yourself or trying to impose your belief systems, which are basically dogmatic, and so on and so forth. So that's for me the biggest joy.
Yeah. That's I think that's what a lot of people would aspire to. There's so many unhappy people, and there's so much dogma, and my belief is better than your belief, and it would make a much happier world if more people, they don't have to go to a spiritual school, but just become more aware of living in the present moment. It would make such a difference to the world.
Yes, and I would like to just add that my second favorite, if not sometimes the first favorite, joy is actually helping people. Maybe not myself, but seeing people being helped. And for instance, Tony Samara helps so many thousands of people, and it's unbelievable the results that people get. With the Tony's workshops, retreats, online events, you name it, books. There's so much material that he has on YouTube. And people are really helped. And so if I can help people with a touch of an essential oil, or a word of hope, or a word of support or motivation, for me, it's also a very, very amazing joy.
Yes, I know. I mean, I've known Tony for many years, and I've been on retreats with him, and he once buried me in the beach on the beach in the beach in Queensland in Australia. So I have great faith in the work that he does, and to allow somebody to bury you, that you have to trust them.
Yes, definitely.
Wahido, it's been lovely talking to you, and well, we'll talk to you again. You can tell us a bit more about various retreats and things that Tony does, so that people can get a feel of in more detail. But this interview has been about you, about who you are.
Thank you
and
so
what
much,
you do.
Sue. It was a pleasure.
Oh, it's been lovely talking to you. It's been great. So everybody, we're signing off now. That was Wahido Marata, and I will look forward to talking to him again very shortly. In the meantime, my name is Sue Ellam. I'm from Soulfully Connecting, which is www.soulfully-connecting.com. And if you want to find the doTerra oils that Wahido is involved with and promotes, then you can find them on the website as well. And in the meantime, if you want to get in touch with Wahido, is there a contact number or email address or something, Wahido, if anyone wants to contact you?
Yes, of course. I mean, if you just go to wahidomarata.com, that's wahidomarata.com, you'll find my contact details there. Otherwise, on Facebook, you just search for Wahido Marata and you'll find me, or on Twitter also, which I'm quite new on Twitter, but I'm finding so many different ways to connect to people. It's quite amazing. And so I think that's about it. You can just connect to me. I'm very,
Fantastic.
very happy to connect to everyone.
Yeah, that's lovely, Wahido. And thank you very much. And so from Wahido and I for right now, it's goodbye and see you again. Bye.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Bye bye.